Hello, pup parents, and welcome to today's episode of the Perfect Pup Podcast. My name is Devin. I'm excited for today's episode. I'm going to talk about the truth about your dog's training progress because oftentimes we set unrealistic expectations for what's going to happen for our dog, how things are going to improve. I'm going to give you 5 tips on how you can more realistically approach your dog's progress and feel confident and very happy about what you're seeing with your dog and their behavior. So let's get right into it. Like I said, there are often in our lives expectations versus realities of what's going to happen. In the video that I made about moving with dogs, I talked about my expectations for my 3 different dogs on how they would adapt moving across the country from having a backyard to living in a New York City apartment. I talked about how I expected fully my dog, Sunny, to be the quickest at picking up potty training, and she was the slowest out of the 3. And that just led to frustration on my end. Oftentimes with our dogs, we approach or look at how they're going to progress in their training, and we think it's going to be this constant line just going up. We think it's going to be, okay, they're at, if you want to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, my dog's at a 3 right now with jumping. I'm going to keep working on training, and they'll go from a 4 to a 5 to a 6 to a 7, hopefully up to a 10. Unfortunately, that's not realistic. That is not how our dogs work, and that is not how dog training progress works. Anyone who tells you that, truthfully, in my opinion, I think that they may be misinformed. And there is some truth that you will have great progress, but oftentimes the progress that you're seeing is less of a straight line up and more of a roller coaster, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And those ups and downs, they can be frustrating. The downs, obviously, of course, can be very frustrating. And so I want to talk about why that's unrealistic to look at how our dogs are progressing and saying, oh, there was setbacks. That's a problem. Anything you've done in your life, I always like to use the example of learning an instrument. You pick up a new instrument, let's say a guitar, right? I tried learning guitar when I was middle school age, and you start strumming, you realize, oh wow, this sounds terrible. Let me go get a book, or let me go get a lesson, or let me look up some YouTube videos, or let me get some chords and try learning these. And you slowly start progressing and you start learning more, but then maybe you take some time off and you see a dip, or maybe there's a part of a song that you thought you understood and you go to practice it and it sounds terrible, or the way you're strumming is just not working for some reason. There's a lot of different reasons how you can have setbacks in learning an instrument like guitar. And it's the same thing for our dogs. When we're training them, they're learning brand new behaviors that in most instances go against their natural instincts. When you look at something like jumping, it's very natural for a dog to want to jump up and be close to our faces. That's where we talk. That's where the kind of action is happening. And that's how, our dogs want to get up on our level and be near us. And so it's very natural for them to want to jump. And so sometimes what happens is we're working on training and we say, oh, wow, someone came over today and my dog only jumped twice. And yesterday they jumped 5 times. That's progress. That's great. And then the next day or the next time someone comes over, your dog jumps 3 or 4 times or completely acts out of hand. And you're thinking to yourself, what happened? Why are they digressing? Why are we moving backwards? And it's important to remember that sometimes our dogs have a lot going on in their environment. And I think that's something we forget as pup parents, is that environment plays a huge role in what's happening with their behavior. So although you might think, I trained on this, they should just be moving up in their progression. We went into this other instance and it seemed like they totally went backwards. It seemed like they didn't learn anything from the previous training sessions. And there can be a lot of factors as to why that happens. So this is just a quick reminder that your dog's progress is not going to be always going up. There are going to be setbacks. There are going to be dips in the roller coaster of your dog's progress. And what's important is to set yourself up and your dog up as much as possible to ride through those dips and be able to come up even higher on the other end. So here's 5 very quick tips on how I've found for myself and from what I've heard from other pup parents as well as trainers on things that you can do to have more ups than downs in your dog's training progress. So number one is setting goals. I think a lot of things in life, setting goals, very, very important. And I'm not saying you need to say, my dog needs to be at a perfect heel within a month. I think that's problematic sometimes. I think it's more important to set goals of how often are you going to train? When you train, how long are you going to train? And what behaviors specifically are you going to work on in a set amount of time? There are a whole host of other resources about setting smart goals and setting goals, that are realistic, measurable, attainable, all that good stuff. So I won't dive into that, but setting goals is important. Second point, similar to setting goals, but that's tracking your progress. If you don't actually track what's happening with your dog's behavior, you're kind of just guessing in your mind. And then what I've noticed is a lot of times the bad moments stand out a lot more when we're thinking, oh, how is my dog doing on a leash? And you think, oh man, I took him on a walk this morning. They lunged so hard at a squirrel, or they did this, or they did, and it's like we hone in often on the bad things. And so it's very important to track your dog's progress. In the Pupford app, you can actually do this. So there's about 20 behaviors in there that after you finish a training session, or just whenever you want to go in and update progress, you can rate your dog from 1 to 5 stars. And you'll be able to, again, have that knowledge and be able to say, okay, this is where my dog is actually at, and kind of see things more holistically. And that leads to point 3, which is to look at your dog's behavior as a whole and not individually on specific behaviors. I know that can sound a little bit counterintuitive because obviously, if your pup was perfect, but they just struggled so badly with leash walking, you want to hone in on that. But it's important to understand that our dogs and their behavior, and especially how, we envision them as a well-behaved dog, that there's so much that goes into that, and it's holistic. It's not, hey, if I get my dog better at not jumping on guests, then that's it. It's just helping jumping. But in reality, you helping teach your dog not to jump on guests is also going to help them be more attentive to you because they may be looking for guidance more fully. And same thing, if you teach recall, yes, you're helping recall, but you're also potentially helping with general impulse control. And so it's holistic, and you need to look at it that way. The fourth tip is to stay consistent. I can't stress this enough, that the progress that we want to see with our dog's behavior, it really comes back to consistency on our part. If we're not willing to put in the time and the effort on a consistent basis, you're going to probably see a lot more dips than you are ups or progression in your dog's behavior. So staying consistent is so, so, so important. And the fifth thing is to be patient. When those setbacks happen, when you have those dips and you're thinking, what in the world is happening? I know my dog is better than this. We just worked on this training. We've been practicing this, and then there's a big setback. What I've heard and what I've seen in my own life, one of the most important things you can do as a trainer, because you are the one training your dog in most cases, right, is to understand that when there is a setback, that just means you need to take a kind of a mental step back and look at, were you asking too much of your dog? Was there too many new, things happening in their environment that led to that challenge or that quote unquote mistake and the digression? Looking at what is happening around your dog and understanding, what, that's a setback. Let's go back, maybe one step in our training and go a little bit more back to basics, and let's stay at it. Let's stay consistent. So again, those 5 tips. Number 1, set goals. Number 2, track your dog's progress. Number 3, view your dog's behavior as a whole. Number 4, stay consistent. And number 5, be patient. Again, raising a dog can be hard. Training a dog is no easy task. And I'm telling you now, I understand the challenges that you're facing. I feel you on it. I really, really do. My dogs are not perfect by any means, but keeping these things in mind helps me to remember, what, generally speaking, there are ups and downs, but as long as the trend is going up, that is what you're looking for. So again, if you're needing extra training help, please download the Pupford app. There are a ton of free resources in there, as well as premium resources as part of Pupford Academy to kind of hone in on specific problem behaviors. And I promise you, you will find something in the Pupford app that will give you some insight and help you improve your dog's behavior, because we're all on that same path trying to raise better behaved dogs. So one last thing, again, I appreciate everyone who leaves reviews, everyone who leaves, especially written out reviews. I look at all that feedback. I look at every comment on YouTube. I look at every single review, on Apple Podcasts. I read the comments on the blog posts for these episodes. It's all important to me, and I appreciate all of it. And if you haven't, please go do one of those things. Leave a comment, subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, whatever you have time for. It is very much appreciated. And other than that, we will catch you on the next episode.